We're here to talk about NIL and its impacts on collegiate athletics. So I want to lay the ground rules a little bit of what we're going to do tonight. I know when you RSVP'd to attend in person, or for those of us that are joining us online, that we asked you to submit questions. Our team went through those questions and tried to consolidate questions that were the same and package them up for our distinguished panel today. So if we didn't get to your specific question, it was basically based on time and other questions that were prioritized in order of most significant question that was asked over and over again. So the second part of it is we're going to have two separate panels. So we're going to have a first 30-minute panel. We're going to have just a quick break, transition to a second panel, our speakers. Again, for those of us who are joining online, this is all available on Teams, and then the recording of all this will be on later for YouTube to see this on a later date. So without further ado, I want to introduce our distinguished panel. Our first panel was the CEO of USF Athletics, Rob Higgins, and USF head football coach Brian Hartline. They're going to discuss revenue sharing and the difference between it and NIL. The panel will be moderated by Samaya Abdir Rahim. She is a junior volleyball player majoring in mass communications here at USF, so please give them a round of applause.
Of mine.
Well, thank you, Casey. I'm super excited to be here moderating this panel with Rob Higgins and Coach Hartline. I know you're all excited as well, so let's just get into it. My first question is for you, Rob. So, change has been a constant in the NCAA and in college athletics over the last several years. Could you please share an overview of how we got here in terms of history and just the difference between rev share and NIL?
Absolutely. I believe it's only a 30-minute panel, though. So everybody buckle up. This answer will take 4 or 5 hours. It's okay to laugh, guys. It really is. Like, we're going to be loose. This isn't going to be stale. It's going to be great. Okay. So basically, name, image, and likeness passed back in the summer of 2021. And at that point in time, the NCAA allowed student athletes to be able to monetize their personal brand, their name, image, and likeness. So you started to see a variety of different brand deals take shape very quickly, where student athletes of all backgrounds with different social followings, all of them looked to try to take advantage of those deals and did at a really high level. From there was the advent of third-party collectives, where whether it be fan bases or third-party affiliates of universities started to organize around that, and you started to see in the ensuing years collective deals take shape for a variety of student athletes. Then this past summer, the House settlement happened, and you had revenue sharing immediately available to student athletes as well. So right now, I would say there's a lot of conjecture and there's a lot of confusion where everybody calls all of that name, image, and likeness, but you really are focused on two separate revenue opportunities. One is revenue sharing, where schools like us can compensate our student athletes directly by sharing our revenues from ticket sales, sponsorship sales, and some of those other avenues. There's a hard cap on that, or it's supposed to be a hard cap around it, of $20.5 million for this year. Every year, the plan is for that cap to increase by 4%. Then, on a parallel path, in addition to rev share, that true NIL opportunity still exists. So student athletes can still be able to monetize their name, image, and likeness with brands to be able to monetize on a parallel path to that rev share. Those deals have to be submitted to the Collegiate Sports Commission through a platform called NIL Go, and they determine whether or not those deals pass the sniff test in terms of fair market value. So that's a quick synopsis. So when you hear a friend or family member call that entire bucket NIL, it's really two different things. It's rev share, the ability for a school like us to be able to compensate our student athletes up to that cap, or it's true NIL, which are those personal branding opportunities that a student athlete can take advantage of, really what's supposed to be on their own as part of it.
Thank you, Rob. And my next question is for you, Coach Hartline. So welcome. We're super, super excited to have you here in Tampa. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So can you just tell us a little bit about what attracted you to the U.S. head coaching job over there?
Yeah, I would say that I'm going back to the beginning when Rob first called and everything. So bear with me. It definitely transformed over the conversation. The original conversation, though, was, yeah, I'm interested. It's Florida, and I spent some time in there in my previous life. I've always felt like Florida was our home away from home. My wife is from Columbus, Ohio, so being up at Ohio State, it was home. And so if we were going to leave, we've always talked about the idea of going south or going back to Florida and our second home away from home. So that was the original conversation. The ultimate decision came down to a handful of things. Again, we only have 30 minutes, but it was, Rob was a big part of it. It was the alignment of USF. It was, Derrick Brooks and his entire affiliate with the program. So the alignment's really, really important. Winning was my number one reason. I wanted to go somewhere where you could win. That's, again, as shallow as that may seem, we're playing in a sports world and it's all about production. And I wanted to win. I got to see the vision of winning. That possibility was because of the alignment. The resources are unlike most places in college football. The trajectory at which that we hold ourselves to and where we want to be is unlike a lot of places in college football. And frankly, at the end of the day, after conversations with my wife, a plane trip visit from Mr. Higgins and the entire group, there's also a gut call. And for us, my family and I, we saw the winning. We know where it can be consistently. We love the alignment and the trajectory of the school and the program. Definitely wanted to be in a spot that had an on-field or on-campus stadium, a brand new facility that is coming. So everything aligned. And then it came down to a gut call for us to leave home. Is this where we wanted to go? Take our kids from our in-laws that are in Columbus and move them without their in-laws, without their grandparents, was really important. It was a big decision. But it came to the gut, made that decision very late at night and shot a text off to everybody. And we were ecstatic. Frankly, from that decision forward, we reconfirmed our decision day in and day out. Being here, operating with these guys, there's a lot of processes through it, but between the alignment, the people, the ability to win, and then being home away from home and then having that gut call, those were kind of the main factors on making that decision, and been happy ever since.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And the stadium, as you said, is definitely super, super exciting. There's construction going on all the time. If you listen close, I bet you can even hear it. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
But Rob, back to you. So, what did you see from Coach Hartline that convinced you that he was the right fit for USF?
Well, I think first and foremost, he's real, he's authentic, he's gritty. He brings a lot of juice day in and day out. He talks a lot about people, process, and purpose. And that was from our very first conversation, and it's been to this day as well. And when I think about people, he was very candid that we were aligned when it comes to prioritizing family and making sure that they take the priority in anything and everything we do. Then he was very intentional around his coaching staff as well, the way that he put that puzzle together and making sure that it was a great cross-section of a variety of different backgrounds and individuals and skill sets. That was really impressive. What he's done in the portal in terms of being able to recruit top talent here and pull together a roster really quickly was just so impressive. So the people aspect and the game plan he had around that was incredible. From a process standpoint, he laid out his timeline in terms of what it would look like, not only building the team, but developing them and getting them ready for our championship chapter. And then, as you heard, his purpose is very similar and very aligned to ours. Certainly, he wants to win, but he really wants to pour in to our student athletes every single day and make a difference in their lives. He was candid about that from our first conversation. He's been candid about it ever since. So those 3 Ps are really important. And there's a 4th one that we don't talk about as much, but it's the passion. I mentioned the word juice earlier. Every single day, the 2 of us, as well as the rest of our team, are shot out of a cannon. And when you have that same calling and you have that same energy and urgency that this is truly a race against time, whether it be to get ready for the season, whether it be to get to where we're going as a university and as an athletic program, it's those 4 Ps, I think, that he and I have hit it off with right out of the jump.
Mhm. Thank you. So last month, back to you, Coach Hartline.
Yes.
Last month, USF signed 41 new players. So how was it navigating the transfer portal, and what were the impacts of the conversations around rev share with the players, and how did that impact your roster?
Yeah, good question. I think that, it's interesting because as we grow in this sport, the variables keep getting added, but the path to where you want to go to either as a player or as a team has not changed. The attention to detail you have to have, the purpose you have to have as a player, to be the first in the building, last out of the building, to outwork your peers, to be that NFL football player, that first round draft pick, whatever that goal is, the path hasn't changed for decades. Like the goal still requires the work. It's not changed. Now, we will continue to add variables like rev share, like, apartments, and now NIL, we can give you a car, like whatever those things were, but they had nothing to do with your goals as an athlete. They had nothing to do with our goals as a team. That being said, resources matter, and you have to do a great job having resources and your resources matching your goals. If your goals and resources don't quite align, you either got to change your resources or change your goals, whichever that is, but that goes hand in hand, and that's been shown. The conversations around rev share, to be frank, and I always am, we wanted to find guys that wanted to keep the main thing. We wanted to find football players, right? Now, with rev share, that provides opportunities for the athlete and for their families, and we understand that. But if we were never going to we were trying not to, and I think we did a darn good job of it, we were never trying to be highest bidder, if you will, right? We wanted to do right by the family, when we do right by the athlete. We want to make sure we were fair in their market, that we thought. Again, it's not like the NFL. You really don't know, so we were trying to do a great job of that. We want to make sure we checked that box. We were not trying to be the one where we made it easy for them to come to Tampa and have, an easy yes because of compensation. And now it's easy to be here and easy to, we ain't doing that. You had to give something up to be in our building. You had to identify being here for a reason other than rev share. You had to be here for Coach Hartline. You had to be here for your quarterback coach. You had to be here because I wanted to play in the Ohio State offense that will be coming down here. I wanted to play for Coach Aldridge on the defense. Like whatever that was, there had to be something different. And frankly, even I wanted to be in Tampa. That's fine because Tampa ain't going anywhere. You can still stay here after next year. There has to be a hook to be here besides just compensation or the business side of it. Now, I understand it. Again, I'll say that again. That was our conversations. And frankly, in those conversations, it was more about coming at people as to why didn't it work in your last spot? Why is it going to work here? Why should we take you? You sell yourself. I'm not here to recruit you. You're trying to sell yourself. That's why you're on this visit. I watched your film. I know who you are as a player. I want to know who you are as a person. Because ultimately, there were some people that we decided, you know what? It's just not going to work. It's simply not our fit. We wish you well, but that exit meeting, I promise, was like, hey, nice to see you. Take care. And the other exit meetings were a little different. Like, all right, man, here's what we want. All right. And we painted the picture to make sure it made it really hard for guys to walk out that building and not be a bull. So it came down to our conversations, what we were looking for. The film checked our box. We were trying to make sure the person was the most important, because if the person's not right, we can't maximize the person. A lot of really good coaches become really bad coaches when you have the wrong people. So that's why it's people, process, purpose. So all those conversations is how we navigated that conversation. But we want to make sure from a rev share standpoint, we did fair. We did a good job of checking their box. But ultimately, we're trying to build a team. We weren't just trying to compensate and make it easy for people to say yes. They had to turn something down elsewhere to come be a Bull.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think that's great, that you navigated like that. Being a student athlete, you always want people that are truly bought into the program. And like you said, it's not just about.
And you had a locker room full of guys that turned down something else to be here. And that can unify you. If one guy kind of comes in and it's easy and that was not what the makeup we were looking for in that locker room.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you. Back to you, Rob. So there's a lot of great things about, revenue sharing, but it's still fairly new. So if there's one thing that you could change about rev share, what would it be?
I think there's a lot of things that probably need to change. The system right now seems very broken. With that being said, the root of it is really good. The fact that we can finally share revenues with our student athletes, quite frankly, some of which that they're helping generate is a great thing. But there are certainly a variety of things that need to change. If I had to pick one, I really would focus in on the agent certification piece. The fact that right now, the representation for these student athletes, there's no requirement around certification, unlike what happens at the NFL level with there being much more of a rigorous certification process. There are a lot of good NIL agents out there in terms of student athletes, but there are some really bad actors as well. And when you have a commission base in some cases of 20%, candidly, those bad actors, it behooves them to push kids into bad decisions, and in some cases push them away from what could be a really good situation that they're already in, that maybe they need a little more luxury of time to develop, and push them into the portal just so that bad actor can make 20% off the kid. I think overall in totality, I haven't checked the numbers recently, there was probably 11,000 student athletes that entered the portal as part of the process, and last I checked, I think 7,000 remained as part of it. So maybe 4,000 found new homes. That's not to say that some of those kids after the spring semester ends won't end up finding a new home eventually, but I just think about the bad advice that was taken as part of it. And I think some certification around that could really help in being able to make sure we do these student athletes right, because this is such a transformative time in their lives, and it's something that is just not fair if they're catching bad advice from a bad actor.
Thank you. So, Coach Hartline, recruiting is the lifeblood of any program. You are widely considered one of, if not the top recruiters in the nation. And we did some digging, and in 2020, you were named the National Recruiter of the Year by 247 Sports. So, what is your long-term recruiting strategy with kids locally? And do you see any bounce-back opportunities? And how does RevShare play into that?
Yeah, the conversation around recruiting, I think, is very shallow. I think that, in my opinion, the recruiting process and that accolade, I do appreciate the accolade, but it's about enter and exit. Like, I think the guys should be held responsible for the way the guys exit and the opportunity they have post college. And that's ultimately what we're responsible for. Not getting, where's the credit for the guy that picked out the 2 or 3 star and now he's a draft pick? Like, that's not tracked. That's great recruiting, but he wasn't getting any accolades on the front end because some third party person said this kid's good. Like, that's ridiculous. So I love the opportunity to recruit great kids, right? And I think that at my previous place, I didn't have an area per se. I just went to the places that had the right guys. Yes, physically they checked the box, but ultimately it came down to the people. And I found myself here in Florida a lot. So and that's well documented. So I feel very good about this state. I love this state. I think that USF doesn't have to go too far for high school recruiting, to say the least. But the best part about USF now in this current age, it's okay if some guys want to go off and experience others. It's okay. We're right here. They can come right on back, and we're ready to catch them with two arms. So the recruiting process is not just always about high school now. It's definitely about understanding we're here for the high schools. We're here to provide support to them. We're here to help support these players, even if they go off. But there's an opportunity to come back and get it right the second time, and that's where we'll live. I mean, frankly, the proximity to our recruiting areas will always be tight to Tampa. I mean, we don't have to go too far. Maybe southern Georgia a little bit, and all the way down to the top of the Keys. I'm not sure we'll get all the way down to the Keys, but we can live in this state as much as we want, and we take a lot of pride in that. We know over the history of our school, when there was predominantly a lot more of Florida players, it was a better team, and so that doesn't go without us noticing. I feel comfortable in this state. I know a lot of these coaches. I love these coaches. I love the environment. I love the athlete that's in Florida, how much they love ball. And so feel very blessed to be down here in this type of environment. But yeah, I think that we will recruit, though, the best in the country. We will not be shy about that. The quarterback coach will go wherever it takes to find the right guy. If he's in our backyard, we'll know that. Receivers, DBs, it doesn't matter. We will not just stay in this state because of. We will find the best players that best fit us. But we feel like that will be pretty close to home, but we will go wherever it takes to get that done.
So, thank you. So, Rob, I've recently read some comments from your peers at the University of Georgia and the University of Minnesota about rev share and NIL slowing down some of their facility projects. So, a lot of athletic departments across the country are having to decide between the two, putting their resources into, building their roster or capital projects. So could you tell us how USF is navigating that?
That's a great question. I certainly am hearing that a lot as well. I think at a point in time, it was a real arms race in terms of facilities for years predating NIL and rev share. Now there's so much focus on making sure you're resourced appropriately from a roster standpoint. There are universities that are making real decisions. When I think about USF, I think about the opportunity to truly have it all. And I think that starts, and you could say that with confidence because of the alignment that we have. It starts with the trustees. I see Trustee Bearcat here. Will Weatherford, our chair, Mike Griffin, our vice chair. Truly, it's a group that understands the value that an athletic department can have on a university. Then you look at the president's office. We really were fortunate with President Law, truly a transformative time for USF and for USF Athletics under her tenure, which is wrapping up this week. And then now to have President LeMay coming is part of it. He's spoken very openly and candidly about his belief in athletics. He's done some great studies at the University of North Florida that takes a look at those students, not just student athletes, those students that attend sporting events, what that does for GPA, graduation rates, participation in the Alumni Association, philanthropic giving, and how those students have more capacity to do that. So I'm excited for him to bring those type of things here. So to have that alignment and common mission and vision from the trustee level to the president's office, and then with our athletic leadership, and knowing that we truly can make sure we're maximizing the experience from both a facility side of things and then in terms of the resources that we're providing as well. Now, we are here, though, to be able to generate revenue from as many different angles as possible. So we're working around the clock to do that in any and every way possible. And it's something that we're really excited to bring to the table as part of it. We're getting our legs under us and making sure that we're built for long-term success from that regard. Now, I'll just add to, I'll tell you anecdotally, just the fact that we have this on-campus stadium coming is truly incredible. It changes every single day. They're working relentlessly to have this done here next summer, which is going to be awesome. I think we talk about the stadium a lot, but the performance center as well, and having a great home for our student athletes to be successful is amazing. But I get chills just thinking about a couple different things. One is the fact that we're going to have students right here on campus that are going to wake up in their dorm room and walk to tailgate and then walk to a home game, a home of our own for the very first time. And then equally as important to have student athletes to have a chance to play on this same campus that in front of their classmates and in front of Bulls Nation is amazing. And Raymond James has been a great home to us, but again, to have our very own place here in 17 months' time is something that truly is going to be incredible. So we're going to have an awesome team on the field. We're going to have an awesome place to call our own.
Yes, and truly that is something that is very, very special. As a student athlete here, I know I'm very excited for the new stadium. Coach Hartline, how are you navigating infusing a new staff and players with the players that stayed? And what are your expectations for the season?
Yeah, I think the expectations off the jump, whether it be the portal guys I got a chance to talk to or our staff, you spoke about, we had 41, really more than that because we had freshmen come in too, but 41 guys from the portal. That means there were still 50 or so guys that were back from the previous team. In my mind, the biggest thing I was adamant about is this is their home. This is not my home. I have not earned their trust yet. This is not anyone else's home. It's not the new player's home. It's their home. They sweat. They've bled in this building. This is their home. We're coming into their home. So we had to do a really good job earning their respect. How do we do that? I think we have to provide value to them from a day in and day out standpoint. We need to be consistent from day in and day out. We have to say less and do more. So that was my big request, was let's do everything we can to earn the respect of the current guys that are here, because this is their home. We are trying to, win them over. Yes, they are trying to win us over, but let's go win them over first. And then same with the players. I know you're in the portal and you're coming on this team. We're trying to build a roster. Roster then will turn into a team. Team is a family. We got to do this thing the right way. So please, I would ask, don't come in here and start barking and think you've arrived. Again, if you thought you were that kind of guy, you wouldn't be here. But this is their home, and we are both entering their home. And so we want to take that approach originally. We are spending a lot of time trying to connect. The only way you can connect is with time. So the coaches have been pretty proactive in taking guys out to dinner. And frankly, the guys have done a really good job of getting together on the Super Bowl. And some of the guys are buying food and they're all watching the game together. At least, I heard the receivers and quarterbacks were. I can't speak on others, but that's what I was told. So it's really encouraging. That was probably the foundation of it all, the original start. Right now, we're in mat drills. So mat drills is a great opportunity for team building. It is plenty of guys that were throwing up on the field, so please don't go down that side of the field. But it's an opportunity to get in here early, to get together as a team, get broken up into groups, and we grind. I mean, we really kind of put we challenge these guys both physically and mentally. We try to do the best we can on creating, conflict, if you will, guys barking at each other. And frankly, we're just trying to earn trust, right? And I know, we talk about the pain of agony versus the pain of defeat, or the pain of not reaching our goal. And so one of our players today talked about the best way to create connection is to go through struggles together, to suffer together. I was like, holy cow, that's pretty awesome. And that was Pup Howard from that came over from Florida, one of our middle linebackers, and he spoke at a very well level and communicated that so well. I was ready to get on the mat, which I frankly did. I got on the mat and started doing it with the guys. But it's really just organically. I think if you try to force it and you try to make it anything other than how it's been built for generations, I think you're lying to yourself. I think that the way you formate a team is still the same. The goals of athletes are still the same. The path is still the same. A lot of variables, but how we handle those variables ultimately will dictate how well we do. So As far as getting the right guys in the building, I think we did a decent job of that. But now we're currently building. We're really doing a good job of creating conflict, creating agony, so these guys can create a really good bond over these coming months. Before we know it, I want to say it's March 11th will be our first spring game, or not spring game, spring practice, excuse me, and then we'll continue that journey from there on out. But it's we're off to a decent start, but we're going to try to make it harder and harder as we go.
Awesome.
Did he dodge the expectation question?
Oh,
That
I'm
way?
sorry.
Did he dodge that, guys?
So,
Do
yeah.
we want to hear his expectations for the
expectation.
season?
So I'll give you my expectation. I have zero, to be honest. My expectation is really day to day. Right now, we just talked about in the team room winning the moment. Like, we're not focused on the past and we're not focused on the future. That's wasted energy either way. We learn from the past and we prepare for the future, but there really isn't expectations. Our expectation is to master our process. We feel like the outcome of the season reflects our process through the offseason. So our ability to win games right now is not existent, but our ability to lose games right now is real. So right now we are not in the world of having any expectations in the fall, but I do have expectations how we operate day to day in our process and how we're trying to enhance that. And that's really where our focus is right now.
Thank you. I appreciate you circling back to that question too.
Thanks, Rob.
No, I just was curious.
That was
You're
good.
going to tap dance or
No,
not? You
just,
did it.
you know,
You did it the right way.
Got on one
Yeah.
mode. And
It was great. It was great.
Do I get to ask you a question?
You do. We're not there yet.
Okay.
See,
Because I have a good one.
I have so many.
Okay.
you're a little ahead of schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, just a tad. So for my last question for you, Rob, what resources does USF provide to their student athletes to help them be successful off the field?
Well, for a student athlete to be able to get to this level, they have poured their heart and soul into their craft and in their sport. They have spent a tremendous amount of time, whether it be training, lifting, competing, practicing, all of those different things. And a lot of times when you get to this level, unfortunately, your sport can become your identity of sorts. And we really want to try to do anything and everything we can to guard against that. And we want to also make sure that they're prepared, that you're prepared for life after your sport. And we do that in a variety of different ways. First off, we want to make sure that they're successful from a financial literacy side with this newfound compensation and name, image, and likeness opportunities to be able to have a better foundation around taxes, credit score, investing. All of those different things is really important, and we want to focus on that. We do that through a variety of different symposiums throughout the semester. We also want to make sure we have an entire team that's dedicated as well and available for one-on-one appointments to be able to walk through that as well. On a parallel path, we want to be able to help them build their brands up. And how do they write an email to a potential company that could become a partner of theirs? How do they negotiate a deal? What should that look like? How do you recap deliverables? All of those things to be able to be successful from a name, image, and likeness standpoint as well. We want to make sure that we're providing this holistic perspective to our student athletes to not only have short-term success as they navigate what is a really critical time in their lives, but then also prepared for the moment that their playing career ends. And that could be not of any more importance than it is to us. It's something that we really focus on and try to provide as much support as we possibly can. But when I say support, it's not doing things for our student athletes. That doesn't help them long term. We want to make sure that we're providing awareness, education, and training and those resources to be successful so that they can fly on their own once the time is right for them.
Thank you. And I could definitely say from firsthand experience that USF equips us with so many resources to be successful for after college. So this is not a canned answer. Everything Rob is saying here is very, very true. So, but those are all my questions, unless you.
I have one for you then.
Okay.
Okay, so for those that don't know, Samaya is an awesome volleyball player, and she also has aspirations to be a broadcaster after this. Doesn't everybody think she did a great job today? Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you.
So if you don't mind, can
Yes.
you tell us a little bit more about what those aspirations are, maybe what some of those experiences are that you've already had and how you plan to achieve those goals?
Yeah, so I am currently a junior right now, but after college, I would love to do sports broadcasting, as Rob said. And currently, I'm doing an internship with the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. I'm doing something called their Press Pass Sideline Series. So I was able to get that internship through USF, actually. They put me in contact with people there. So I go there, I get great firsthand experience and do sideline reporting. I get to do on-camera work, really just whatever they need me to do for that day. I get to do it, and I'm super grateful that USF gave me that opportunity. It's great experience for just, firsthand work, but yeah, super grateful for that.
And how can people follow you? Follow your journey.
Follow my journey. I'm on Instagram, Samaya Rahim. They could follow USF Volleyball. You guys could come see me in person, come to a game.
Nice.
USF Volleyball, we're back in business in the fall, baby. We're in the courthouse. Sorry, there, but yeah, we're in the corral. Come to a game. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Let's give
Yeah.
another round of applause for Samaya. And thank you guys all for being here, Coach Hartline as well. And we hope to see you out at a game soon. Speaking of games, I just want to give a shout out. Our women's tennis team just won a match against Stetson. And then tonight at the Yingling Center, our women's basketball team takes on Tulsa at 7 o'clock. Our men's basketball team is at Wichita State at 7:30 on ESPN Plus. So you have two eyes. One eye you put on the women's basketball team at the English Center. The other one you can have on the app to cheer on our Bulls. But thanks so much for everything you guys do, Bulls Nation. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So welcome back to all those that are joining us online, and those of you here in person. If you want to go ahead and take a seat back, we're going to have our second panel of distinguished speakers. This panel is going to be moderated by Mathis Haugen, who is a senior soccer player majoring in engineering here at USF. And he's going to be talking with COO of USF Athletics and NFL Hall of Famer Derrick Brooks, and current ESPN college football analyst and former NFL player Anthony Booger McFarland. Give him a round of applause.
Man, I just noticed you took your tie off, man.
I did. All right. Casey, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you to the audience for being here today and all the people tuning in online. Today we have an amazing panel with two legends of the game, but also legends to the Tampa Bay community as well. So I'm extremely excited to talk to both of you, and let's just jump right in. So Derrick, as athletes, we're often told to make sure our personal brand aligns with the brand of any company we do business with. For you, what goes into deciding what businesses to partner with?
First of all, man, whenever I look at strategic partnerships, I always start looking at from the inside out, the core competencies of what the business is doing and how they're affecting the community. So the community piece is always number one. I probably turned down more deals, to be honest with you, in terms of partnerships than I accepted because of that. And I looked at build a relationship for me. And when I enter into a partnership, I is this to build a relationship or is this a transactional relationship? And I go through that exercise with the companies, and 95% of relationships that I have through businesses is a sustainable because it is a relationship, and I try not to look for those transactional relationships. And for me, I try to make sure it crosses every pillar of life that I'm a part of, My foundation, Derrick Charities, is a big part of it. So any endorsement deal that I'm involved with, I always try to find a charity component that partners with my foundation, or that company has a foundation or charity that I could be a part of enhancing their mission. So by doing those things, I try to cover the grounds of building a relationship with every company that I do have an endorsement deal with.
Perfect. So it's basically like
Yes.
building relationship, making sure the values align.
Yes, it is. And, another piece of it as I continue to think is when people think about scaling in the business, we always say we got to scale up, we got to improve. Yeah, all those things are there. But I'm in the scaling of people too. So how is this business going to impact our community and help people, not just there, but how we're going to touch lives beyond just this relationship? And for the most part, again, I thank God I've been blessed to find those relationships that continue to do that.
Amazing, amazing. Now, Booger, you have had quite a journey. Could you tell us how it's been going from a professional NFL player to an ESPN host, and how you became one of the top analysts for ESPN?
Wow. Yeah, it's been quite a journey. When I got done playing, I played 9 years in the NFL, and you retire at 30 and you realize that you're behind, because everybody in your graduating class from college graduated at 21, 22, and so you're 8, 9 years behind. Yeah, you've made a little money, but from a life expectancy standpoint, you're going to live to 75. You got 40 years. You got to figure out what are you going to do with your life. And so I was in that position, and through the relationships, some of which Derrick spoke of, cultivating those relationships while I played, which led me to doing local radio. And local radio led to doing regional television when ESPN launched the SEC network. That led to doing stuff on ABC, Monday Night Football, the draft, ESPN, and so on and so forth. But it all started here locally, learning what the red line and the blue line was, watching the Tampa Bay Lightning, because I had to talk about it every day. Understanding the nuances of what Joe Madden was trying to do each and every night. Those are things that I had to learn if I wanted to get into the business. Again, I was behind. And so I had to go and learn an entirely different craft. And for me, I've always been a people person. I graduated from LSU in business management, specifically human resource management. I've always loved interacting with people. And so the genre of being in the media and talking to people is something that always excited me. And so, here we are. One of the things that I'm most proud of is I've done this job in my second career 2 years longer than I did my first one so far. And that's something that I'm proud of, because it was a lot harder doing the second one. The good Lord gave me a lot of ability to run and tackle and jump and all those good things like that. And that came very naturally. The second career didn't necessarily become something that was natural until I made it. And so I'm very proud of that.
Amazing, amazing. So staying on the topic of media, both of you are quite active on social media with a large following. Talk about the value of social media and how you've been able to leverage it to build your brand.
The social media is something that you have to understand what it's used for. If you're going on there to get a life lesson every day, you're probably in the wrong spot. If you're going on there for guidance about what to do at home, it's probably the wrong spot. Social media is just what it says it is. It's a forum to be social with all people of all different kind, all different beliefs, and you have to understand that's what it is. Half the people are going to hate you, half the people are going to love you. However, in order to love you or hate you, they have to know you. And your brand is kind of putting yourself out there where people can know you. And X or Twitter, Instagram, all these different genres are an avenue for people to get to know you, for you to share what of your life you want to share with them. And then people can kind of understand who you are based on what you share, some of. And so I look at it and I use social media as a way to interact with people, to give them just a little glimpse of who Booger McFarland is, where I grew up. My bios tells you a lot. Born a country boy from Winsboro, Louisiana, who loves peanut butter. And that's something that tells you enough about me that you go, okay, I have an idea of what he's about. And so therefore, as we move forward, if we decide to, in some form of a relationship other than just X, you have a little bit of awareness of who I am. But that's kind of what I use it for. This is not a Twitter, Instagram is not a daily devotional where I'm going to get life lessons from.
Picking up on that, for me, I use it for the same purpose of advancing the mission. My interactions on there, Some of them are part of my relationship, as I said before, with companies that I have endorsement deals, and we're pushing a mission, we're pushing a cause, or we're pushing a product, et cetera. So that's part of it. The second part of it is, I use it for my foundation and it's something that I had a struggle with, Matt, to be honest with you, when it came to educating the public on doing good. Like I was always, hey, we see a cause, we go solve the mission, we go dive into the problems, and we don't need no headlines for doing good. But as the world started showing the other side of athletes and what a lot of people are doing, they're showing the bad things. It kind of forced me to come from behind the curtain. So I use social media as a vehicle, and I had a great conversation with my good friend Ward Dunn about this, who's a fantastic individual, does a lot of great things in the community here in Tampa and Atlanta. And we had the conversation of how can we use this vehicle of social media to show the good things that we're doing and bring light to those things in terms of advancing our society. So I try to use it to advance with me, part of my personal brand. As Booger said, I don't, go on social media, to engage in, right now I kind of look at it now in my current position to kind of see what's the feel of Bull Nation out there. Some of them love us, some of them hate us. I need to know, man, if we're running out of popcorn at a concession stand, I'll go to social media. Mr. Brooks, where's the popcorn? It's like, I didn't even know we were out. But in all seriousness, it's an engagement opportunity, and that's kind of what I use it for, to try to catch some of the positive pulses, what's out there, and also the awareness of some of the dangers. Let's be honest, we as a university use social media as part of our communication strategies in emergency situations, here on campus, and using social media as a form with our university communications team to reach out to all our student population to keep us safe. So again, social media can be a very valuable vehicle used in the proper manner, and that's what I try to do with my personal brand.
Awesome. So given creating a personal brand has obviously given us student athletes an amazing opportunity to really earn some money while in college. So how is NFL now and NIL affecting athletes' decision to stay in school versus going pro early?
Well, I'll start from my administrative seat. What I try to do, and you heard Coach and Rob talk about this, is I try to embrace the game of football or all of our sports at where we are at today. And I try to use these, opportunities in talking to our student athletes, not just the ones here at USF, but the ones I have a relationship across the country. And you have a means to have a head start in terms of earning revenue at a very young age. So I try to give them tools to manage that situation. And a lot of it usually is kids coming into compensation and they don't have a good support system around them. I've always been asked this question, Derrick, when you came out of high school, man, how much money you'd have been making today's? I said, man, I probably would have been broke. And they said, what? You was, the number one player coming out of the country. I said, yeah, from Pensacola, Florida, that didn't know how to go to a bank and cash a check. I was looking for a liquor store to cash a Pell Grant check. Because that's what my parents did. They didn't have a bank account. I say, so I probably would have been lost, in this world at all. Now, my kids coming through this, my son that played, I'm more educated in this. He had a very different experience. So I tell kids that I talk to that story of, hey, how are you surrounding yourself to protect these resources? I say these resources could be an asset or it could be your worst weapon if these assets are not managed properly. And I just try to give them tools in terms of the education piece. And we are doing this here at our athletic department. Say, hey, here's some guardrails and some guideposts that you guys are coming into to be made aware of. And we hope that most student athletes take advantage of those resources.
Amazing, amazing. So NIL was obviously created so athletes could have the ability to profit from brand deals and their own entrepreneurial ventures. Some would say one of the unintended consequences of NIL is the increase in the number of football transfers that happens from year to year. Now, one bird told me that, Booger, you have an extreme love for the transfer portal, and with over 6,000 student Division I football players last year, or this January, entering the transfer portal. Can you share a little bit more about that topic, about the transfer portal?
Yeah, I wasn't always for the transfer portal, but I think in order to make the system fair, if we're going to allow coaches to move from job to job and have free movement, I think we have to allow the student athlete at some point. Now, the two transfer portals were a bit much, the two transfer portal windows were a bit much. Now, I think we're starting to get to a point where we have some sense of normalcy having the one window. Freedom of movement is something, as we're in 2026, I think we have to embrace. I think, it would be very hypocritical of me with the coach that I currently have in Baton Rouge to be against the transfer portal, because God knows he uses it. And every school is starting to use it right now, because it's a tool at the end of the day where, with your NIL component and your revenue share component, to be able to allow kids to do the thing that we come to college to do, which is play. In the years past, when you had 3, 4, 5 stars stacked up at one school, those kids just sat there and they didn't play. Now, with the transfer portal, kids are going to play at Indiana, and Indiana's winning a national championship. Kids are going to Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's winning 10 games. These are things that wasn't heard of when Derrick and I were in school. Those schools did not compete. You saw them on the schedule, you chalked it up as a W, you kept it moving. Now, because of the transfer portal and because of the way revenue is being streamed to our student athletes now, there's a lot more of a competitive balance in the country. Now, with that being said, I do think there has to be some semblance of guardrails that need to be put up. I would rather have it too far this way than have it not at all, because for too many years, the NCAA restricted the student athlete. I think both Derrick and I were in a situation where the most money we got was a Pell Grant, and you got those once a semester. And when that Pell Grant ran out and your Discover card was maxed out at $1,000 that you got from the student union, man, you were out of luck. Nowadays, these kids, I talked to kids at the Senior Bowl 2 weeks ago, those kids are already millionaires. And you just pray and hope that they have somebody in their lives that's guiding them what to do with that money. But the transfer portal is something I think we needed. How do we get it in the perfect sweet spot? I think is ultimately what people a lot smarter than me are going to have to figure it out, because the college calendar and semesters and quarters starting and getting these kids enrolled, when is the perfect time to transfer? When is the perfect time for a head coach to move from one school to another one? I just went through that personally, and I actually had to deal with that on a day in and day out basis, where our school is trying to hire a coach who's at another school, and because of the calendar of the portal and signing day, there is no great time to do it. And somebody's going to be villainized when it comes to that. So I still think there's a long way to go. I wasn't for the portal, but I am for kids who get the opportunity to move and go, because ultimately, if we say this is about the student athletes and the student athletes want to go play, you want to allow them to play. Nobody wants to sit on the bench for 3 years anymore. Go wherever it is, you want to be able to go play. And so I think the portal allows kids an opportunity to do that.
Amazing. Derrick, do you have anything to add on this topic?
Yeah, I would just, for me, when Booger and I get into these discussions, I just want an educational component to be a part of it. And my simple solution, yet complex solution, is don't allow a kid to transfer until they get their AA degree. At least you have a foundation of some educational component where the student athlete is emphasized. And once you get your AA degree, you can transfer one time. Now, if your coach leaves before you get your AA degree, that's the exception where all kids, can transfer, because head coach fired, head coach leaves. That's that. Now, once you get your AA degree, you go to your new school, you can't transfer there until you graduate. Mm-hmm. And once you graduate, as you well know, you graduate, you can get a third transfer within 5 years if you graduate early. So for me, it's an incentive to get kids to graduate early if they want to have an opportunity to transfer to 3 different universities. So I would just like an educational component to be part of the guardrails of the transfer portal, to provide a little bit more consistency among the roster with kids, and kind of develop that sense of, yesteryear that I thrive for, that school pride, that playing for one school, yes, I'm a little bit traditional, with this, and a kid that transferred 5 times in 5 years, it's hard for me to believe that young man or that young woman had a connection with any school.
Mhm.
So I want everybody to have some connection with a school, and hopefully having some educational component could be part of the solution that Booger speaks of, that people, way smarter than us have to figure out. So I just want an educational component, Matt, to be part of it, and that's my simple solution.
And Matt, this is why he works with Rob, because I'm not going to go down that road. And this is the conversation that we have about this all the time, because there are students, and I mean, let's just be honest. Like Derrick and I are two of the exceptions. Both of us, he went to Florida State, I went to LSU. Both of us have our degrees. We played in the NFL, and we have successful second and third careers. The large majority of people don't do that. Football is their way and their opportunity out. And so from an academic requirement standpoint, the academics has always kind of been a gray area anyway, especially once they did away with Proposition 48. I'm taking you guys back years now. Some of the older people don't even remember Prop 48. If you go back from Prop 48 to the minimum test score, to the minimum GPA requirements, they've always tried to push the school element. And the more they pushed it, quite frankly, the more the kids have went away. And most kids are leaving school. It's a 30-month program. The semester after your junior season, the ones that can go pro, they're trying to get out. And so there's a fine balance of not wanting to use the university and not having some of those memories of yesteryear, how the university, and I quote, and I may be saying this the wrong way, but for lack of better words, how the university used the student athlete. Mm-hmm. And, I was always told, and the reason why I'm in the position now is, in order to make it fair, you got to get your degree. And so I was always going to do that. But a lot of kids don't go down that road. And so you have to be very careful when you're going to try to tie athletic movement and a restriction of movement based on an academic, I guess, degree or standard. And that's the conversation we have a lot when it comes to this.
Yeah, we'll be up here debating all night, as you can see, because I'm ready to come back with a rebuttal to what he just said, about the student piece of this. When you are a student, that had a 3.9 GPA, you understand the emphasis of what, that truly means. You got whipped in front of your 5th grade class because you was being a distraction. Academics mean a little something different in the Brooks household. That's what I'm saying, Matt. But and another fact that I shared with Booger, and again, I could be off base, but more kids, when we look at all the student athletes that go in the transfer portal, guys, over half of them don't get picked up anywhere else. But no one talks about those kids that are left behind with no option. In the past, the university was responsible for paying that following semester of their academic calendar to fund them. We're not responsible for that anymore. So you get a lot of kids that don't find that second opportunity when they go in there. They don't have another landing place, and that's where you get the kids, unfortunately, that ends up being lost.
I was listening to you guys talk about this whole transfer portal, NIL, and college athletics as well. It seems like this is going to make me sound very old, but for me, college athletics has changed a lot just in the 4 years that I've been here. I'm pretty sure it's even a bigger difference for you guys. Can you talk about some of the differences from when you guys were in college? And you think you guys would have done anything differently if you were recruiting for college athletics, college football at the moment, being at the same school? You think you would have done anything different?
I'll start, Mac. Yes, I would have probably still ended up at Florida State. And here's why. I asked myself, with all these scholarship offers, where would I go to school if I never played a down of football? And the answer was the closest school to Pensacola, Florida, because if something happened to me, my parents need to get there. They wasn't flying, they were driving. And Tallahassee was 2.5 hours away from Pensacola, Florida. That was my college decision. It wasn't the love of Bobby Bowden, and God knows I love Bobby Bowden. My mom loves Bobby Bowden. She told me I was going to school with that, whatever that old man coaches, There where you going. That's what she told me. But my decision, that's what it boiled down to. Where would I go to school if I never played a down of football? With everything going today, it's hard for me sitting here, the man I am, to think any different from that. Especially when I again, as I said earlier, I have to put myself as a 17-year-old in 1991 without this life experience of what finances were. And being offered that at that particular time, it probably would have been a weapon for me used in the wrong way. And the man, Derrick Brooks, probably wouldn't be sitting here today because I didn't have a family equipped with that economic empowerment to understand what that meant. So it would probably been abused in the wrong way, to be quite honest with you. It would have been abused. And I can't say I would have ended up here. So again, that's why I want to appreciate where the game has gone and how it has evolved over the years. So I've been able to see that transformation as the game has changed. And believe me, we have fun conversations, you know, talking about our days versus my son days when he played, and seeing the kids now and going back to yesteryear and projecting out, because, you know, that's what Booger has to do on a daily basis. But Matt, to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to change my experiences, you know, at what I went through, not one single bit. You know, I sit up here, you know, a young man from Pensacola, Florida, that never left the state of Florida to play football. From Pensacola to Tallahassee to Tampa, you know, very rare have you seen that. To end up, you know, playing 14 years for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but working 15 years for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Who would have thought of that? 2 Stanley Cup rings and 1 Super Bowl ring. That's me. I'm one of one. And now, you know, I am one of one as being Rob Higgins' first hire here at USF. How lucky am I, you know, to be that one of one for Rob? How lucky am I? I expect that raise, sir.
Amazing.
He's the only guy I know. He's got 2 Stanley Cup rings and knows no Russian whatsoever. He knows not one lick of Russian, not one. And I ask him all the time, like, how did you communicate with the guys? Oh, I got it. You know, I would like to think that I would still be the same person, because I learned at a very young age, money doesn't change you. It just accentuates who you already are. And so I would like to think that I would be the same guy, but the struggle and the road to get where I am would probably be different. You know, growing up in a small town in Louisiana, man, I too, like Derrick, made my college decision based on proximity from home. You know, flying wasn't in a lot of the conversations at the McFarland household. And so the ability to be able to drive between 2 and 6 hours was always going to be, you know, something that was very important. If proximity wasn't an issue, and I think I've told Brooks this, I wanted to go to Miami. I wanted to be like Jerome Brown and Russell Maryland and Warren Sapp and Cortez Kennedy. I can go on and on. Like, those are the guys that played the position I played, but that was a long way away. And then Bobby Bowden said I was too small, and then I meet this guy, and I'm like, man, like, how could he say that? Like, so it was a number of things that led me, but the number one thing was the proximity from home. And I often wonder what it would be like to be in an NIL era and to have a conversation at some point, whether it's the first or the second or the third conversation, where we're talking about, hey, for your name, image, and likeness, here's what we would like to do. Because I think we lose the fact that, yeah, it's a transactional deal here. We're not paying you to come. We're going to take advantage of your name, image, and likeness, and we're going to put you in position where you can make X, Y, Z. I think that's the thing that we still lose sight of. Yeah, man, it was a lot of days and a lot of weekends on campus where, you know, you had 15, 20 bucks and you had to survive until Monday when the training table opened, especially in the spring. Like, those are things that this generation doesn't have to deal with. And I'm glad for them. I just hope they appreciate it and understand the value of money, because when you have something that's so plentiful, you don't necessarily, especially at a young age, you don't necessarily understand it because you think it's always going to be there.
Yes.
And so there was a period of time where we were without it. From 17 to 21, it was Pell Grant, Needy Fund, Pell Grant. Every now and then, hey, mom, give me a couple food stamps, all those different things. We had to strive that way. When we came into these careers, man, there was an appreciation for the dollar. These kids now, when you got $1 million in the bank at 18 years old, I don't know if you can really appreciate what it's like to be an adult and to have financial decisions, because money is so plentiful at your reach. So I feel confident I'd still be the same person. It would have just taken a different way to get there. Because when you're young, you want to experience things. You have money. You're gonna blow it a little bit of it. I don't think I'm gonna blow it all though. But and to appreciate where it is now is something that I wouldn't change the road that I did travel, because there's an appreciation. And I learned from the cheapest guy I know to my left about money. Rob, if you ever need to balance a budget, or you ever need to save money, just ask Brooks, because I've never seen anybody who, and I'll use this term very, very in front of him, as rich as he is, who don't want to spend a dime.
No.
That's the guy to my left.
I love it. I love it.
I'm a relationship.
So I think we're coming to an end. Obviously, we have a basketball game we all need to catch after this. So to wrap this up, if we could leave everybody here with one thing when it comes to the topic of NIL, what would it be? Start with you, Derrick.
Well, man, I want to give you that question. We want to hear from you. What you would like for everyone here, Bull Nations, to know about your experience here as a student athlete? You're an entrepreneur.
I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. I'm trying to. For me, USF has been life-changing. Honestly, I came here 4 years ago from Norway, never been in the US before, and being able to grow with the university. We spoke about earlier the way USF has just changed in the last 4 years, and ever since Rob took over as well, seeing the hype around the school and also the hype around Tampa Bay as a community as well. I'm in love with it. I think this is definitely the place to be now, but also in the future. And I've been able to start a business as well. I came in as a freshman. I suffered a season-ending injury as a result of chronic dehydration. So I asked the question, what's currently being done, what's available for us as student athletes to prevent dehydration injuries? And it turned out it wasn't any really good solution. So I built one called SIP. So SIP is an attachable device that turns any water bottle into a smart hydration platform. So we measure your intake, we understand your hydration needs, habits, and give you personalized hydration insights on an individual level, but also on a team level, where we offer a dashboard for the coaches and medical staff to kind of monitor all their athletes to make sure that they're up to speed and ready for high impact trainings, high impact games. So we're currently in product development. We're doing a research study with a couple of USF Athletics teams this spring, which is super exciting. And over the summer into the fall, we're going to scale into manufacturing and start piloting in the fall. So I'm loving it. I am super grateful to have been a part of USF and the journey that we all are on, and really, really excited about the future.
That's it. Well, for me, I would just, my always thing I like people to leave is an attitude quote given to us in 2002 by Coach Rich Versace. He stood up in front of our room and he asked us this question. He said, if attitudes are contagious, is your attitude worth catching? And when you think about that kind of guy's probably at some point in my day, since 2002, I always come back to that quote in everything that I do, because I want people to catch my attitude, good, bad, or indifferent. I believe I had the right attitude to make a difference. So that's the one thing that I would love the audience to leave and think about your attitudes, because you can control that. So one thing that you can control is your attitudes.
You know, what's interesting is living in the Tampa Bay area since 1999, and then playing and getting into college football, I've always admired the area. Specifically, I've always made this statement to a lot of people. Why isn't USF bigger and better? Just from an athletic standpoint. It's in the state of Florida. It's one of the biggest schools in the state of Florida. The recruits are plentiful, especially in this state. Everywhere you look, people can run, jump, throw, catch. Why isn't it bigger? And as leadership is put in the right position now, head football coach, athletic director, everybody's in a situation, why can't it be bigger? And a big component of being bigger is growing bigger. And a big component of growing bigger is understanding how to take advantage of where we are in 2026, how to do things a little bit differently. And I think you guys, everybody here at USF has the best of both worlds now. You have somebody in Rob that's been on the cutting edge and working in Tampa Bay, understanding the area, understanding how to get things done. You have a former player in Derrick that understands from a playing perspective, but also understands cultivating relationships, his attitude, how to grow it, how to put this university in the best position. You know, one of the things that I've seen over the years, since I've left LSU, to go back and watch, I've seen different iterations of different coaches come and go. Some win, some don't. And I always look for clues, because I'm a big believer in life. I don't care what you do, where you are, what you're in. Success always leaves clues in life. You just got to know what to look for. It's really simple. And one of the commonalities that's been down in Baton Rouge has been really, really simple. Embrace where you are. Embrace the people. Understand where you are. The biggest awareness in life is self-awareness. So USF has an opportunity now to be self-aware. And I think you have the right people in charge. Being in Tampa Bay, and on campus stadium, everything is going to, and they need everybody to embrace that. Because the name USF, I think I heard, is not the same old Bulls, right?
Yes, sir.
Not the same old Bulls. Because we have this idea of what it used to be. Indiana had that idea too, right? Until a football coach showed up and changed it. It's amazing what you can do when you get the right people in place. And we are in an era now where the right people can change and do things, not in 3 or 4 years. Not in 3 or 4 years. They can do it right now. And Rob and Derrick and everybody here, the pressure's on to get it done, because this university has, I've always said, is in a town, in a position, and has everything you need to be big time in college athletics. Why not USF? In order to do that, it's going to take everybody, all the tentacles that are affiliated with it. And so my last thing is just, man, just put the attitude, as Derrick talks about, encourage the people, be a part of it. Because I sat there in Miami and I watched people I didn't even knew where the state of Indiana was. I didn't even know they had even graduated, let alone went to the Indiana University. The pride and passion they took in that school. And it happened because one guy. It started with one guy. And I asked Kurt Signetti, how can you believe what you believe? And I'll close by saying this. He simply said this. He said, I believe in what I do. He said, so when I stand in front of people and I say, we're going to win, and if you don't believe it, just Google me. I've done it. I know what it takes. It might sound like bragging, and might sound a little bit Grungarian when it comes to his attitude, but man, it's just really simple. He knows who he is. He wins. Great leadership, hired the right coach. Everybody's in the right position. Now support the people that you hire. Appreciate you guys for having me out.
Want to thank you all again for joining us. Another round of applause for our distinguished panel here. I want to give a special shout out to CEO Rob Higgins and the athletic department again for putting on this outstanding event. Give them a round of applause. And then last but certainly not least, all the production crew in the back from the Office of the President and Communication Marketing. Thank you all for putting this on. If you're interested in seeing a replay of this event, it'll be on the USF YouTube page and also on the Office of Public Policy Events website at usf.edu/publicpolicyevents. Thank you all very much and have a great night.